On a freezing winter morning in 1637, a man walking through the narrow, misty streets of Amsterdam carried something worth $1 million in today's money in his pocket. It was neither a weapon, nor a priceless jewel, nor a bar of gold. It was only a small brown flower bulb, indistinguishable from the cooking onions in your kitchen. I am here to tell you the strangest, most absurd, yet deeply unsettling story in history. This is not merely an economic crisis. It is the story of a society, of the smartest and wealthiest merchants of the age, descending into collective hysteria. What we call Tulip Mania today is regarded as the first great financial bubble of the modern world. But deep within this story lie proofs of dark human greed, of the fear that whispers, "Why am I losing while others are winning?" and of how a single virus could shake entire empires. When this documentary ends, you will never look at the phone in your hand, the money in your wallet, or the cryptocurrencies you invest in the same way again. Because history is not merely a collection of past events. Unless lessons are learned, it is a play performed again every single day. The stage is the Netherlands of the 1630s. The lights come on, and the madness begins. The tulip is not originally a Dutch flower. Yet within just a few decades, this delicate flower would push the Dutch Republic to the brink of economic collapse. Born in the harsh winds of Central Asia, it reached perfection in the palace gardens of the Ottoman Empire as a symbol of nobility. In the 16th century, in the court of Suleiman the Magnificent, tulips were not merely flowers, but a philosophy. But one day, a man carried this flower to Europe, Ogier Ghislain de Busbecq. Busbecq, the ambassador of the Austrian Empire in Istanbul, was mesmerized when he saw the magnificent tulip gardens of the Ottoman palace. He had no idea that the few bulbs he took with him would change the fate of Europe. Those bulbs ended up in the hands of Carolus Clusius, the most renowned botanist of the era. Clusius wondered how the tulip would adapt to Europe's harsh climate. But there was a problem. Clusius was a scientist, not a merchant. He refused to sell the tulips, keeping them solely for scientific purposes in the botanical garden of Leiden University. Yet human nature desires what it cannot reach. Dutch elites offered Clusius fortunes just to see this exotic and rare flower in their gardens. Clusius said no every single time. And then one night, the infamous theft took place. Unknown figures climbed the walls and stole the rare bulbs to which Clusius had devoted years. When Clusius woke the next morning, he was devastated. But for the Netherlands, a new industry had been born: the tulip black market. That theft turned the flower from an academic curiosity into a savage object of trade. Now let us pause and think. Why the tulip? Why not the rose? The answer was hidden in a flaw of nature. At the time, some tulips began to change color in unpredictable ways. Flame-like white streaks would suddenly appear across a plain red tulip, as if an invisible painter had touched its petals overnight. People of the era believed this was a sign from God. Yet the truth was far simpler and far more ironic. The cause of this beauty was a disease. A virus, known today as the Tulip Breaking Virus, attacked the plant's structure and created those unique patterns. In other words, people were trampling over one another for a sick plant. And here is where the paradox began. The more fragile the tulip became, the more valuable it was perceived to be. The rarer it appeared, the more desperately it was desired. And the higher the price climbed, the safer it seemed. Value was no longer tied to reason, it was tied to belief. And at this point, the legendary Semper Augustus was born. With blood-red streaks on a white base, this tulip became the ultimate symbol of luxury. Not simply a flower, but proof of status. According to records, only 12 of these tulips existed in the world. The price of a single Semper Augustus bulb equaled a mansion in Amsterdam's most exclusive district. In today's money, offers of over $1 million for a single flower were flying through the air. This was no longer trade. It had become obsession. To understand why Tulip Mania emerged not in another country, but in the Netherlands, we must look at the Netherlands of that era, the Golden Age. At that time, the Netherlands was the world's first modern capitalist state. The Dutch East India Company, the VOC, was sending ships across the globe, carrying spices, silk, and unimaginable wealth back to Amsterdam. Money was flowing into the country at a scale Europe had never seen before. There was so much cash in circulation that people could not find anywhere to invest it. And idle money is never patient. It looks for movement. As the stock exchange building rose in Amsterdam, financial markets became part of everyday life. Ordinary citizens understood speculation, contracts, and risk. They were not naive, they were confident. And that confidence slowly transformed into something far more dangerous. They did not simply feel rich. They felt invincible. The Dutch believed their prosperity would never end. They believed their money would never run out. And they believed tulip prices would rise forever. Economists later called this irrational exuberance. But on the streets of Amsterdam, it did not feel irrational. It felt logical. It felt inevitable. And when people abandon rational calculation, all that remains is a crowd, running faster and faster, chasing one another toward a horizon no one can clearly see. By the summer of 1636, something had shifted. Tulip trading was no longer merely a hobby of the wealthy, it had become a fever. Farmers, servants, chimney sweeps, bakers, everyone abandoned their work to engage in tulip trading. Fields were left unattended, ovens grew cold, chimneys went unswept. But there was a major logistical problem. Tulip bulbs could only be dug out of the soil in the summer, so what were people going to buy and sell in the winter? Here, the dangerous ingenuity of the Dutch came into play. Windhandel, wind trade. People began selling contracts for tulips that were not even beneath the soil. They were trading the idea of a flower. And this became the first true futures market in financial history. In taverns and smoke-filled rooms, papers were signed before notaries. A piece of paper belonged to a baker in the morning, passed to a carpenter at noon, and by evening was transferred to a nobleman. Most of the time, no real money changed hands. People were buying flowers they had never seen with money they did not possess. Debts were being covered with more debts. And slowly, almost invisibly, a tower was rising, built not on soil, but on promises. According to records of the time, the barter list for a rare bulb included 12 fat sheep, 4 oxen, 8 pigs, 200 gallons of wine, 4 tons of wheat, tons of cheese, and a silver cup. The total value in today's money was staggering. Yet no one stopped. A merchant wrote in his diary, "Now no one sees a real tulip anymore. We only see numbers and papers. May God have mercy on our end." And among those who believed they were safe was a genius, Jan van Goyen. Today, his paintings hang in the world's most prestigious museums. He was respected, established, admired. He was not reckless, which made what happened next even more unsettling. In 1636, Van Goyen put down his brush, not because he lacked talent, but because he believed tulip trading would earn him more in months than painting could in a lifetime. He invested everything. Then he borrowed more. A respected artist chasing a flower. When that fateful February morning arrived, All he had left were papers whose value had fallen to nothing. No buyers, no safety, only debt. He returned to painting, but not out of passion, out of obligation. He worked more than ever before, not to create greatness, but to survive. When he died in 1656, he left behind not a fortune, but a swamp of debt. This was Tulip Mania. It did not destroy only money. It consumed talent. It consumed time. And it did so quietly. February 3rd, 1637. A snowy Tuesday in the city of Haarlem. A routine tulip auction began. The auctioneer announced the opening price for a rare tulip. No one raised a hand. He lowered the price. Silence. The air in the room felt heavier. For years, demand had only moved in one direction, up. Now it had stopped, not slowly, completely. In that silence, something invisible broke. The question, "Why is no one buying?" spread across the room. Within hours, it became another question. If no one is buying, what is mine worth? Panic did not explode. It multiplied. Contracts that could purchase mansions a week earlier could no longer buy a sack of potatoes. Friends sued friends. Families turned against one another. Courts overflowed with tulip disputes. And then the state intervened. This is not a commercial accident, officials declared. It is gambling. And gambling debts could not be enforced. In a single decision, paper fortunes dissolved, not into nothing, but into obligation. The middle class did not vanish overnight. It sank. Quietly, slowly, irreversibly.
Now let us return to the present. When Bitcoin surged to $20,000 in 2017, one phrase echoed across the world: tulip bubble. When, in 2021, digital images, mere clusters of pixels, sold for millions, the phrase returned once again. 400 years have passed, yet the pattern feels familiar. During Tulip Mania, the tulip itself was perceived almost like a new technology. Few understood it fully. Many feared missing it. The mystery created value, and value created belief. Today, we call it blockchain, artificial intelligence, the next revolution. But the mechanism remains the same. People assign value to what they do not fully understand, especially when others appear to be winning. Tulip Mania teaches us a simple truth. Value does not live inside the object. It lives inside collective belief. And belief is powerful, until it isn't. The Netherlands recovered. The markets stabilized. But the phrase tulip bubble remained, etched permanently into financial history. When you close this video, take a moment. Look around you. What is your tulip? If everything stopped tomorrow, what would you be left holding? If this story made you question something you once felt certain about, stay with us. History does not repeat itself exactly, but human behavior does. And there are many more stories where the pattern reveals itself.